Alrighty, we're going to show you the Airsoft Innovations Tornado grenade. And in this case, we've got the grenade armed with the spoon kit. Everything's charged up and ready to go. The really cool thing about the spoon kit is that it adds an extra bit of realism to the entire feel of the grenade. You of course don't have to have the spoon kit, and that keeps costs down. And this is a little bit expensive considering what it is, but I will say that so far in our testing, it's been one of the most reliable and effective airsoft grenades, especially considering how safe it is. It uses propane gas or duster gas, which is the kind of stuff you use to clean off your PC keyboards and things like that. So you have no pyrotechnics, you have no explosive, which makes it very safe. The BBs come out in a spiral pattern. They fly out at really not much more than 150 feet per second, although it seems to average between 80 and like 130, 140 or so. So you have that element of safety too. And now we're going to show you the grenade up close and then what it can do. So, what you see here is, like I said, the spoon kit. Of course, this is the safety pin, and I'll show you everything else in detail in just a sec. But let's see how it actually works. That's the cool part. So let's take a look. Okay, now here's the grenade, and you can see that there's a little bit extra safety than just pulling a pin. You actually have to unhook the one part of the pin from the other side, and it's not easy to do unintentionally, which is a good thing. So obviously you're going to want to pull this pin out, and you're going to have to make sure that the little hook safety part is clear. It does take a little bit of force, nothing too bad. You then have the spoon here, which will fly up and off in just a second, and we're going to show you what it can do. Alright, you got a decent spread of BBs. You had minimal drama, basically. In fact, the grenade is still right where I left it, so shouldn't be too hard to find. And the spread pattern isn't too bad either. So we're going to do another shot here, just to give you an idea of what it can do. Alright, we recharged everything, reloaded everything. It took us just about 8 minutes, but we had some malfunctions with speed loader and a few other things. So my guess is that with practice and assuming that all of your peripheral hardware cooperates, you'll probably be able to do this in less than 5 minutes as far as reloading and so forth goes. One thing I noticed when I have used the spoon, which you saw earlier, was actually the first time we used it, and one thing I noticed was that there's a lot of pressure exerted on the spoon from the pressure from the compressed gas. So best thing to do, I think, when pulling the pin is to hold the spoon as far down as possible, and that way leverage is your friend. If you don't, what will start to happen is that the spoon will actually start to pop up, and the delay on the grenade is then reduced. And what you saw earlier was that the delay was barely a second. So just try to keep a lot of pressure on the spoon until you're ready to actually throw it, deploy it, and allow it to pop, basically. Okay, same as before. You want to pay attention to the small hook there. It's basically a safety, so you want to just pop that little spring off and make sure that it's kind of up and away as you're going to be pulling on the actual grenade. Like I said, apply as much pressure as you can to the spoon until you're ready to deploy, and then go ahead and have some fun with it, which is what we're about to do right now. Oh man, that is just cool. You saw the spoon fly off. BBs were sent in almost every direction. In a lot of airsoft games, especially the ones that I've attended, there are not only the rule that you have to be hit, but also with grenades, there is sort of like a bang out rule of sorts, where if you're within 10 feet, 12 feet, whatever, of a grenade, you're dead. So even if by some chance the BBs do miss, you'll still probably get a kill out of it, at least in the airsoft sense. Okay, so you've seen the Airsoft Tornado grenade with the spoon configuration, and this is what it looks like without it. It's pretty straightforward. You still have the safety pin, and of course the only difference really is just that you don't have the spoon to worry about, to hold on to, and so forth. In an airsoft game type of situation, to be honest with you, this actually might be the preferable way of configuring the grenade, because you have one fewer thing to lose. Still, it's really just up to you. The thing I like about it is that for the buyer, you don't have to go and spend the extra money to get the spoon kit if you don't want it. So if your budget doesn't allow it, you don't have to get it, but you still get the very excellent, very reliable tornado grenade. So I like that fact. One thing to note there are two holes here, and those two holes control the delay on the grenade. So the one I have it set to is the lower hole, and that gives you roughly 3-second delay, versus the second hole, that's the topmost one, and that gives you just about a 1.5 second delay. So you do have the ability to control how long it takes before the grenade actually deploys. So we're going to show you how it works right now. Alright, well, I got hit square in the chest by at least one BB, and like I said, the velocity is pretty low, so it's not really a pain factor. You still almost always want to use goggles. Anytime you're dealing with any kind of flying projectile, make sure to protect your eyes. But that said, if someone was to dive on the grenade or try to pick it up to throw it back, for example, I can't foresee there being any significant type of injury. That said, please always use your best judgment. Remember, safety first. It is a sport, it's a hobby, it's a game. If someone gets hurt, it's not fun anymore. So overall, I'm very impressed. I like this thing a lot.
Now, one of the other really cool things about the Airsoft Innovations Tornado grenade is that you can use it as a distraction device, which I'm taking to mean basically a bang grenade. There's going to be no flash, but you will of course have a fairly loud sound. This little thing is ingenious. I mean, I have to say I'm really impressed with it. I've seen a lot of airsoft hardware in the last several years that I've been doing this, and this is one of the most solidly built and functional pieces of hardware that I've seen. It works. I know that sounds sort of silly, but I mean, in terms of the percentage of times that it works to the times that it's been tested so far, it's been literally 1-to-1, 100% effectiveness. And in an airsoft grenade, that's saying something. I also like the fact that it's so versatile. Like I said, you have the really cool factor, the realism factor with the spoon, and you have perhaps a more practical and less expensive element of just being able to pull the pin, wait your 3 seconds and let it disperse its BBs. Or in this case, you've got a simple burst disc mechanism that allows you to have, like I said, what they're calling a distraction device. And we're going to show you that right now.
Okay, so we have it in the non-spoon configuration, and instead of being just solid and opaque, you can see here there is a clear, very thin piece of plastic, and that effectively is the burst disc. You can actually see the valve where you would load in whatever gas you're going to use, and this thing will pop. There's also a little insert in here. It's a little O-ring insert, and this is the thing that keeps the gas from escaping into the sides and pushing out BBs. So in effect, it's just blocking the gas from being expelled in these areas here. So the instructions that come with the grenade are excellent. They got me up and running in just a few minutes, and I never actually used one of these. I've seen them used, but I've never used one myself. So again, kudos to Airsoft Innovations for that. And now we're going to show you what it can do.
Facing.
Okay, wasn't very loud. I actually am kind of disappointed. Actually, I thought it would be a little bit louder than that, but it's something. It'll probably have your opponent turning his head for at least a second or two, trying to figure out what the heck that was. But we're going to give it another test just to see maybe if there's any way to tweak it. Okay, this is going to be round 2 of the distraction device test, and this time I've added 2 burst disc stickers, because that's really what they are. They're fairly thin pieces of plastic. I want to see if we can increase the volume, and we're going to see what happens right now. Okay. Well, that answers that question. Adding more than 1 burst disc isn't necessarily going to increase the volume. Okay, I made a goof, and I failed to put in one very critical part, and in a way it's good, because now I can tell you to be very careful and pay close attention. This little piece here is what I forgot to put in, and so when I deployed it, it just escaped through the BB holes and it didn't give any real kind of a bang. So just pay attention to the parts and make sure, of course, that you do everything per the instructions. That's critical. This one still has 2 burst discs in it, and I decided to try this to see if it has any effect in the volume of the pop, and we're going to see if it does right now. All right. That was a bit louder than the first time. More of a crack, really, than a boom, but still a little bit louder. You saw, obviously, that you had a little bit of movement there as the propane escaped, and then, of course, it blew the whole disc out. So, again, it's not as loud as I hoped it would be, but considering how good the grenade is, and considering the fact that you're probably going to be using this as a fragmentation grenade, it's still pretty doggone cool. Now this I find interesting. Before, when I just had the single burst disc, the sticker actually remained and there was just, basically a hole through it. In this case, it's totally gone. So I'm actually kind of surprised by that. You are dealing with a fair amount of pressure, but I would have expected that some of the sticker would remain, and I can't I can't see it anywhere. That's interesting. Not really a pro or a con, just a little tidbit. So there you have it. We've just shown you all 3 modes of the Airsoft Innovations Tornado Airsoft Grenade.